Media Evaluations Question 4. How did you use media technologies in the construction, research, planning and evaluation stages? Throughout this course, media technology has been crucial to ensure a professional product at the end. I have used media technology in every stage of production, particularly for my music video. Firstly, during pre-production, I used media technology to make my research and planning posts more interesting. As all of my work was stored in an online blog on the website Blogger, I used this to my advantage and presented all my information in a range of ways through the use of various online applications. This was seen, for example, through websites such as Prezi, Voki and SlideShare. As well as this, I used the new video creator feature on YouTube when completing a semiotic analysis on my music videos that I admire. This was effective as I could store existing YouTube videos and then crop them to keep only the parts which I wanted to replicate in my own work. This made the analysis easier as the product was then only the specific part which I wanted to look at. For the production stage of my music video, I filmed majority of the video on a Canon DSLR on the 720p settings with a shutter speed of about 1/60th of a second. I experimented with the white balance to make the footage brighter and darker for the two different time periods of my narrative. However, I decided on a setting of 10 for the summer scenes and of 3 for the present day shots. As well as this, I decided to film parts of the music video on my phone as I found this was more practical. This was for the scenes where it was a bit risky and bulky to use the school's cameras, such as on the rise or in the car. I felt this was practical to use the phone as well, as the shot was seemed very professional as well, as my phone has an 8 megapixel camera as well as larger pixels which come in at 1.5 microns and has an aperture of f2.2 which allows more light to come in. This made it perfect for the summer scenes. Following the iOS 8.2 update, the camera on my phone also has a time-lapse feature, which, although can be easily done in post-production, it made it very easy to film the road in front of my characters as they're driving along and then time-lapse it. In my opinion, post-production is where I use the most media technology. Firstly and most simply, I used the internet to obtain the sound of the rain against the window pane and played this at the beginning of my music video. Although I filmed the rain myself, the sound was not loud enough to be used. Luckily on YouTube, I found a clip which I downloaded through the online site Clip Converter and imported into Premiere. I then used a range of media technology in Premiere in order to make my product look more professional. This included the use of 3 adjustment layers, not only to portray the contrast between the two time periods, but also to enhance the overall quality of the footage. For the first layer, I applied a black and white tint and adjusted the input. The 3 input levels were 19.1, 0.8 and 239.8, and the output levels were 0.0 and 225.0. So these were leveled and changed, and then I changed the master saturation levels from 100% to 43% to make the footage look much sharper. On my last day of filming, I had some issues with lighting in the location as it was quite dark that day. Therefore, I added an extra layer to these shots where I changed the master saturation to just 30 and adjusted the brightness to 21 in order to make these scenes match the ones which I'd filmed on different days. To portray the bright and summery days, I used a 3rd adjustment layer and applied the 3-way colour corrector, and I found that it was really helpful to experiment this in different settings in order to make the footage more yellow, to make it seem like there was more sunshine. I again adjusted the input, so the 3 input levels were 0.0, 1.0 and 229.0, and the output levels were 0.0 and again 225.0. And this was just to make the footage look significantly brighter than the present day scenes, and this created a visual contrast. As well as this, I also created a time-lapse of the footage where I'd filmed people walking in and out of the pier, which I completed through the speed duration settings, which I'd adjusted to 2,872.51%. I also adjusted the speed duration of the footage of the rides to 500% to make them faster and match the beat of the song. As well as this, the footage that I filmed of other cars during the journey to the seaside, I changed this to 250%. Similarly, as well as speeding up, I also sped down and included slow motion in certain parts of my music video for effect, such as when Brandon was walking away from the sand and the hug at the very end of the music video. For these, I clipped the video to the part that I wanted to be in slow motion, and I changed that speed duration to 30%, which I've noticed a lot of music videos do for dramatic effect and to really put emphasis on that part of the video. Following the slow motion hug, I also created a still image of the couple using the frame hold setting on Premiere. Another element of media technology used in Premiere was the different transitions, which were created through the default transitions setting, which was very simple yet very effective, as the fade-ins and fade-outs created an interesting look. Lastly, in Premiere, I created a split screen. This was done by placing two parallel scenes on top of each other and then applying the crop tool to each and cropping both to 34% on the left and 22% on the right and vice versa. For my ancillary tasks, media technology was again extremely important. I used the Adobe application in InDesign to construct my digipack and poster and used Photoshop to edit the photographs used from them. During the editing process, I used tools such as the Quick Selection tool to separate the sky from the rest of the landscape, and then the colour correction setting to make the sky look more blue and idyllic.